In this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up and configure the calendar inside of the Microsoft project. First thing you should know is every time you create a new project, you need to create a new calendar for that specific project. Or if you already created a calendar in past for previous projects, still you can use them. But important point here is do not use the default existing calendars inside of the Microsoft project. Consider them as they are like a template that teach you how to create a calendar. So for this purpose, I'm going to project, from here the menu project, and I can press change working time. This pop-up screen open for me. Now here I can see the list of predefined calendars inside of the Microsoft project. These are defaults existing here by default. 24 hours, night shift, standard, and as I said, I don't want to use them. I want to create new one. So I press create new calendar. Here I can put a name. For example, I put practice 1. It's just a name. It is not affecting your calculation, your calendar. It is just a name that you remember what was the purpose of this calendar. And here there are two other options. Create new base calendar. If you select the create new base calendar, basically the new calendar that is created is a copy of the standard calendar of Microsoft project. But you also have an option. Make a copy of one of the existing calendars. Remember, at the moment we don't have any calendar, but imagine you already created a calendar for another project and you already configured, set up everything inside of that calendar, and the new calendar that you want to use is similar to that calendar with the small differences. So here what you can do is you can select this one, pick that specific calendar, create the new calendar with new name based on that specific calendar, and modify that so it requires less work for you to configure everything from scratch. Okay, but for now, because we don't have any calendar, it doesn't matter if I select this one or that one. Okay, now another entity is created here, practice 1, right? Practice 1 is created here. As you can see, I do not see the project calendar in front of this one. It's okay, but remember, this is important, but it's okay at the moment. Just keep it in mind that later in this video, I'm going to refer to this point. Okay, so I select this one. Now here there are legends, working, non-working. It's pretty clear. Here I can see that the calendar, I can see this, for example, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Saturday is off. If you refer to the legend, non-working days, Saturday is off, Sunday is off. Okay, it's just a legend. I cannot edit any information here. And when I press any days here, I can see the working hours here: 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. These are the default settings. Okay. In this section, I have two tabs: exceptions, work weeks. Inside of the exceptions, there are no records. If I press, it will create new one, but I wouldn't want to do it right now. Let's look at the work weeks. Work weeks, there is one record default. Okay. This default is basically this information here. I can select it, press details, another pop-up page open, and here I can see each day of week, Sunday, Monday. I can select all of them. There are three options for me. First one, to return back the information to the default calendar. Second one, make that specific day as non-working time. Third one, make that a specific, not a specific date, not a specific day of week to working time. For example, let's say Sunday by default is non-working day. I can select Sunday excuse me, I can select Sunday and then select working days, working times, and specify the hours for this day. For example, 8 to 12 and 13 to 15, or oh, 15 is fine. Okay, so now Sunday is working day, Monday is working day, Tuesday is working day. And for example, let's say I want to make Wednesday non-working day. I can select Wednesday, press non-working days, and at the end I press OK. But remember, when here you specify Sunday as a working day, it means all Sundays in your project calendar will be working day. Okay, if you select, it's not a specific day, for example 16th of June, it's all Sundays, it's all Wednesdays. Okay, and let's say my calendar is let's say I want to the easiest way to set up a calendar is what I'm doing right now. Let's say what I want is uh, uh, only Sunday is only Saturday, only Sunday is off, and the rest of the days of week should be working day, 7 to 6 p.m. Okay, now what I'm doing here is I select all, make them working days, then press, I set 7 to 18, right, without any break. 7 to 6 p.m. 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. without a break. Okay, and I said Sunday should be off. Okay, I select Sunday, press off, and press OK. Now you can see here on this section that based on this default, Sunday is off. Okay, Saturday is working day, Sunday is off, the rest of days, and I can see the working hours 7 to 6 p.m. Okay, and here on work weeks I can have this is a default setting. Okay, but let's say for 1 month the calendar is different. Let's say for 1 month the calendar is only 2 working days, only Tuesday and Wednesday are working days. Here I said I don't know the name of that event. Here better to have a very detailed description so other people also can understand what's going on. Let's say August or September, from 1st of the September to end of the September. No, it's September, sorry, 1st of the September and end of September. Okay, for this period of time I can select this record, go to the details and say okay, for this period of time 7 to 12. Okay, 7 to 12 and Sunday, Saturday and Friday is off. Okay, so calendar in this period of time is different. If I go to the August, I can see it's a default. On September I can see it is reading from these second rows here, and the next month October it goes back to the default. That's an option that you can have when you create a new calendar. Okay, it's kind of an exception. Okay, it's kind of an exception. You also have another tab as exception. For example, let's say I want to make 15th of August as a public holiday. It can be public holiday in a country, it can be a holiday inside of the specific for the project. It can have many reasons, but when I'm making it exception, non-working day, by default when you create an exception, it's considered as non-working day. Okay, if I go to the details, I have 2 options. By default non-working days, but I can also make it a working times. For example, that one specific day you want to increase the working hours. Okay, uh, so here let's say this one is 15th of August. You may say, what's the difference between this exception and this work week? Okay, why you cannot define it here? The difference is you cannot have two exceptions in parallel at the same time, but you can have multiple events in work weeks. For example, let me show you. Uh, Here I said my working hours change from 7 to 12, right? But at the same time, because it's a default work weeks, at the same time I can come here and for this specific day, for example 18th of September, create an exception. I don't know what to name it. Extra work. And for this extra work, go to the details, say this is a working day, it's not 7 to 12, it will be 7 to 18. Okay. Here, 7 to 6 p.m. But at the same day, if I wanted to use the exceptions, at the same day I cannot have more than one exceptions. Let's say again 11th of September, if I want to add another exception, it will return an error and say there is an overlap between two exceptions and it's not acceptable. So what I'm saying is, what you define shoot, I didn't save, but it's okay. I accidentally pressed escape, didn't save, and that setting is gone. So let me quickly return back. It was 7 to 16 to 18, and if I'm not wrong, Sunday was off. Okay, so the point is, you can have one work week exception here and it can overlap with the exceptions from exceptions tab, but you cannot have overlap between the with the event and items that you define inside of the exceptions tab. Okay, so now we created oh, I made a mistake and I think I changed the project calendar. Another important point, when you want to define when you define and edit a calendar, you always must be careful that you edit the specific calendar that you wanted. For example, if you remember, I made a mistake, this tab closed and I opened again this tab, but I forgot that I should select the practice one. So what happened now is I accidentally messed up the standard calendar of the Microsoft project. It's okay, I can select all, return to default value. It's just a lesson learned for you. It's good to see it happened here. So now when I open that again, I double check, okay, now I want to edit practice one, so I move to practice one. And for your information, by default, when you open the change working time page, it is going for project calendar. Okay, so now what was the change that we wanted to have here? Let me, okay, 7 to 18 and Sunday, Saturday off. No, Sunday was off. 7 to 18 and Sunday is non-working day. Okay, good. So practice one, we discuss about work weeks, we discuss about the exceptions. Now what happened so far inside of the Microsoft project is you created an entity. This entity is created, you configure, but it's not ready to use. There are other options, there are other settings that you need to check and make sure they are configured properly before going to next step, which is data entry specifically data entry for the task inside of the Microsoft project. Okay, next point that I need to discuss with you is options. Here, change watching time, you can press options, but you can also reach to these options because it's a default options of Microsoft project. But when you open it from here, it's by default it is going to a schedule. Okay. If you reach it from, for example, file option, it goes for general. But anyway, any approach that you open the project options, you go to the schedule. Okay, and here there are some information that are important. For example, here week starts on by default is Sunday. You can change it if you want. It is not affecting your calculation. It is just sorting how to show the data. Okay. Fiscal year starts in. It is not affecting your calculation. You can use it for reporting later on. Okay. Not important. And but this one, default start time. Here, as you can see, the default start time is mentioned 8 a.m. Default end time is 5 p.m. Okay, it is the default values for Microsoft project. If you remember what we defined for our calendar, for project calendar, I'm trying to make a point here. Just remember why I'm saying project calendar, because later on you will learn to create a calendar for task, for resources, and some of these options that I'm doing here may not be related to those calendars, but here what I'm doing is a project calendar, and these options directly impact your project calendar. Let me show you how and why. Okay, so you created this calendar entity exists, but when you go to the option, still the default start time and end time is 8 a.m. 5 p.m. Microsoft project is not changing these two values, and it's for you to set up these values. You may say how it impact my project. When you try to create a task, it should be automatic. Don't worry, I'm going to prepare another video for tasks, and we'll cover these points. But for now, just to show you, here if you look at here, is when you define task calendar is none. Okay, let's say it's standard. Okay, when you create a task, even if the task calendar is none means this task is following the project calendar. At the moment, what is the project calendar? The project calendar is a standard. Okay, the project calendar is a standard. So by default, this task is following that calendar. And here you can see Monday, the start time and finish time, but you cannot see the dates, right? For this one, file option on general, I can see the date format. Let me pick a date format that I can also see the starting hours. Okay, which one is good? This one is good. This format is good. Most of the information and small. Okay, now as you can see, the default start time is 8 a.m. right? So you created a task, and for this task start time is 8 a.m. So what I need to do is to make sure the default start time here is aligned with the default start and end time of my project. Okay, let me set up this one. Now look at the next one, hours per day. Hours per day, the proper it would be better if they mentioned working hours per day, not just hours per day. But what they mean is working hours per day. Between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., let's say in this calendar there is no break. In previous calendar, the default calendar, which was from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., there was a break between 12 and 1, right? And because of that, the hours per day was configured here as 8. But now my calendar is changed. I want to use another calendar for the project, which starts from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So the working hours is 11 hours, if I'm not wrong, right? 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. without a break, 11 hours. Now, this one is very important because it's very important because every time we create a new task and define a duration like 5 days, Microsoft Project, Microsoft Project doesn't know 5 days. What does 5 days means? Microsoft Project look at this one, say, okay, 5 days, 5 multiplied by 11 hours, it means 55 hours, okay? And use that inside of the calculation. So it's very important, this one, to be aligned with your project calendar. Hours per week, okay? Hours per week, same. So I have 6 days per week, right? So this one should be 66, right? Only, if I'm not wrong, only Sunday was off. So 6 working days per week in the side of this calendar, so 66 hours. Days per month, here I can maybe select 25 or 26 or 24, it's okay. Where exactly Microsoft is using them? Microsoft is using these two, same as they. I will show you later how to define the duration of the tasks. But normally when you say a duration of a task is 4 weeks, Microsoft Project is using this information. If you say the duration of a task is 1 month or 2 months, Microsoft Project is using this one. Why 25 or 26 is not important? It's same, basically same, because if your estimation, if your calculation is based on month, and you didn't perform estimation based on days, and you are using big scales like months, then 1 day difference is not changing. It's not making big change. Okay, it's not a big deal. You can tolerate it. This is for calendar so far. Nothing important here for now at the moment. We will review them later when we reach to the specific points for them. Okay, so here this calculation is very important. As I said, this setting is very important. You need to perform calculation and manually update the information in these 3, especially this one and these 2. Default start time, default end time, default hours per day. Try and trust me, if you don't do, you will suffer a lot. Okay. Now, option is set, okay, and press OK. Now if you look at here, I keep this task on purpose to show you what happened. Let's say, let me zoom a little bit. Select the task, go to the task ribbon, scroll to task. Now if you look at the task, I zoomed a little bit. If you scroll up also like previous view, Monday, right? But if you can see on your Gantt chart, task is like starting in middle of the day and end before end of the day, right? It's different than what you used to have. Okay, and now you look at the duration. The duration is 0.73 days. But before I updated calendar, it was 1 day by default, right? What happened here is when you updated the calendar, Microsoft Project tried to align the existing information based on the new calendar. It's based on the updated information on your calendar. And here is the result. So what happened is you need to manually update and correct them. That's why it's very important for you to make a clean, correct calendar before you start data entry. Imagine you didn't have only one task, you had around 2000 tasks here on your project, and you suddenly find out that, oh, I messed up the project calendar. It requires a lot of work to clean up. Well, there are some tips, tricks that you can reduce the pain, but still it's painful. And if you already have such a skill to clean up that mess quickly, it means you should also have enough skills and knowledge inside of the Microsoft project to prevent it. Okay. So now let me put one again here. I put one and I can see still the start hours is 8 a.m. finish 11 a.m. It doesn't make sense, right? The start it's one day, but the start in during the Monday and end in Tuesday. It doesn't make sense, right? If I go to the project calendar again, practice, I can see the work hours is fine. I can see the work week setup is fine. Even the I double check the option. This information is fine. Okay, but something is wrong here. There are more options, more settings that you need to check and configure. Other setting is you go to project information. Here you can see the start date of project is reading from a date and time, and here by default it's 8 a.m. It is not updating automatically, although you mentioned this default start time is 8 a.m. So you have to manually change this one to 7 a.m. Okay, August 7 a.m. Another thing here is, here it is mentioned that the project calendar is a standard, okay, but it's not, because I wanted to use the practice one, so I select this one. So these two is important here to check the starting hours of the start date. Remember, on your machine, on your system, you may not see the hours, but you know how to find it. You go to the file option, the schedule, you can change the date format, and even though if it's not showing, even if it's saying 31 August, you can just type 7 here and it will automatically identify as hours and make it at 7. But better you change the date format to a format that you can see the hours, and then continue your work. Okay. Now one day 7 a.m. and to 6 p.m. right? So this one is fine. So the calendar so far is fine. Change working time. Okay. So let me summarize what we discussed here. Inside of the Microsoft project, to anytime you want to create a new project, always create a new calendar. Never use the default calendars inside of the Microsoft project. Always create new one. When you create new one, you have an option to use a copy of the existing calendars from your previous projects. It's fine, it's good, it's a good practice, and you should do it, okay, to reduce the amount of work you want to. For example, let's say in your country you have 45 exception days, public holidays, or 20, I don't know, it depends on where you are living, and you already define them inside of the calendar. Why? For you should not define them again for another project. It's a lot of rework, right? So what you can do is simply just copy of an existing calendar that has all these exceptions and just edit them. Edit it based on your new calendar, based on your new project. Okay, and then I mentioned after creating this entity, the calendar, you must go to the option, configure the default start time, default end time, and these three, and most importantly hours per day. Then I told you go to the project information, make sure the starting hours is fine, and make sure the project calendar is selected properly. Okay. And last thing I forgot is it's visual. Okay, it is not affecting your calculation, so it has low priority, but it's important for you to know that here on Gantt chart you can right click time scale and go to non-working tab, and you can specify that this view is following this project, this calendar. Okay, you can change it anytime. As I said, it is not affecting any calculation. It is just how you visually see the information on your Gantt chart. Okay, and have a good time, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I try to make it very short, and let me know if you have any question. I will try to record more videos about the project management and also Microsoft project. Have a good day.